Welcome everyone to this new episode of the Privacy Rules Privacy Espresso. Privacy Espresso is a concise, effective, and to-the-point advice from data privacy and cybersecurity experts worldwide. And the one with us today is John Eastwood. John comes from Taiwan at the law firm Iger, and is a recognized expert in many different sectors, including, of course, technology and data privacy matters. So I'm particularly pleased to have him with us today. And we are going to discuss about BYOD, that is the Bring Your Home Device practice. That is a very relevant matter in this time. So I would like to thank immediately John for being with us today and ask him, hello John, and what is BYOD and why it is so important in this time?
It's a huge pleasure to be here. We're seeing a lot of companies' policies that are encouraging employees to bring your own devices, BYOD, smartphones, laptops, and tablets. The thinking is that if you get employees to use devices that they're familiar with, then you'll be able to recruit and keep happy workers. There's some cost savings from the company not having to buy devices, and supposedly increased productivity because the employees are more familiar with what they're using. But thanks to COVID-19, companies around the world have become a lot more dependent upon these devices to tie their offices together during lockdowns or voluntary work from home arrangements. But there's some important downsides as well. During the employee relationship or at the time of termination, it's usually going to be hard or impossible to get access to employee-owned devices to confirm misappropriation of trade secrets. It's a little different than if you have a company computer that you can ask them to bring in or return over to the office, to examine. Such devices, these personal devices, are loaded with personal data. So there's going to be, employees' own financial data on taxes and investments and family or other personal photos, videos, etc. There's also a much greater likelihood of family members or friends borrowing or using a personal device and thus getting exposed to company information. Some security solutions like keystroke, key logging software really are bad mojo to try sneaking onto a person's employee's personal electronic device. And the lack of separation between work and home devices also opens up a lot more potential opportunity to malware that can cause even bigger problems regarding hackers and cybersecurity breaches.
Perfect, I understand. Thank you very much, John, for this brief introduction. And I think I have an interesting question that I would like to share with you and our audience. It's, if an employee uses a work computer or a smartphone to access, private email or messaging software, can an employer monitor that?
Right. Well, generally speaking, I mean, the answer is going to be yes. An employer can monitor that. In Taiwan, the company should have a policy or a work rule in effect so that the employees have some idea that the company devices are to be used for company business only, and that the company reserves the right to monitor that use. The employer should not be using data obtained to log into the employee's personal account. So, for example, if you have key logging software that gives you some idea that an employee's Gmail or Yahoo account or something like that is, their password or something like that, it can be tempting. It can be tempting for employers to want to use that information to log into the employee's personal account to go check if they think that there's some sort of horrible theft of trade secrets going on, but they shouldn't do that. That gets them into criminal trouble in Taiwan. Companies may monitor employee communications because of sensitivity within their industry. For example, insider trading in the financial industry, bribery within companies that are doing government procurement, misappropriation of trade secrets in technology companies, or else because of other internal investigations underway. Keystroke logging, key logging via software or hardware devices can be used to track everything typed into the computer keyboard, including messages sent outside the company's official communications mechanisms. And in the past, employers have typically sifted through the massive amounts of that kind of data using specific search terms relevant to what they want to detect. They don't really go on so much of a fishing expedition, but they do try to search for certain words that might indicate an employee is engaging in, for example, insider trading, or in some cases because of gender equality policies and laws, the employer may want to watch out for certain terms which are highly misogynistic. In one case, we worked on a multinational's local management team were sending inappropriate, pornographic emails to each other. The headquarters security team started monitoring the emails sent within the office and notified local in-house counsel within Taiwan that the upper level management in Taiwan was doing this. The local in-house lawyer then made a major career mistake by sending an email to the country manager to warn him, your emails are being monitored by the company. Now, that led to a couple of problems. One is interfering in the investigation. The other part is that the in-house counsel should have remembered that the emails were all being read and that his act of interfering with the investigation would soon become very obvious to corporate security.
Okay, that's really interesting, and thank you, John, in particular for this practical example of what can happen. I have another question of you that is related to the case in which we are speaking about company home phones or laptops. So, can employer keep a terminated employee's photo or files that may be left on a company-owned phone or laptop?
Not for very long. I mean, even where an employer has rules against employee personal use of company devices, the reality is that employees will still accumulate photos, videos, downloads, etc. And some employers will simply delete or reset a company phone when it's been returned. That's a great solution in many cases. If there's not an investigation underway, if there's not a concern about it, employees having done some sort of massive misconduct, if the employee is leaving on good terms, by all means, just go reset the phone. However, if the termination is really quite friendly, I mean, in some cases, the employees work there for 20 years and they're retiring, and they may have sometimes what they'll do is they'll just offer to provide the employee with a thumb drive or a disk with their photos. But keeping personal photos, files, etc., beyond what may be necessary to confirm no misappropriation of trade secrets or other legitimate business interests is a pretty serious problem. And the personal data may not merely be that of the employee. The photos may include children, a spouse, parents, grandparents, etc. Some photos may be of a very sensitive kind of situations, including at the beach wearing a bathing suit or in the hospital right after childbirth. And so it's really better for employers not to keep that. Non-work related data on a device, on a work device, should always be deleted after termination of the employment. It would basically violate Taiwan's Personal Data Protection Act to keep personal data with no business purpose for it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, John. And also, I just wanted to briefly ask you if you have any key takeaway that you would like to share with us and our audience.
Well, basically, if you have a senior employee, if you have senior employees or employees who are working very much in a technical part of the company, then really, bring your own device is just not worth it. The company need to protect its trade secrets, to protect its commercial information, to know what's going on, to be able to investigate what's going on, is absolutely impaired if they allow people to just use their own devices. And within our own law firms, white-collar crime practice as an evidence issue, and it's just even a matter of trying to find out what's going on. We've seen the use of personal devices by senior managers as a huge impediment to being able to find out what's happening and what's going on, a good device, and have them work with that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, John. We end our time, so I would like to thank you for being with us today, and thank our listeners and audience for joining us and following us. And I invite them, if they didn't, to follow PrivacyRules.com and our LinkedIn and Twitter page, and of course to follow Iger. And I hope to see you all again very, very soon. Bye, everyone.